Kia ora everyone and welcome back to the show. You're with Lilia Taro, and today I have a brilliant guest for you from Las Vegas. This is Ali Weinstein, and he is here to talk to us about relationships and how that impacts your business and his brand new book. I met Ali on social media when I was doing promotion for my book, Daughter of Floraval, and we just had an absolute blast. And I went on his podcast and we had an amazing conversation, a korero as we say in New Zealand. So, hey, Ali, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. I wish I was with you in person because I've always wanted to visit New Zealand. I love the rugby team and all the stuff they do. I think I get those TikToks that come up and I'm like so invigorated. I'm like, I could take on the world. And like, I'm so pumped. Like when they do the haka and everything, I'm like, let's go. And so I wish I can visit New Zealand. It is on my to-do list dream of places to go. If only I can handle the long flight. That's all my only problem.
Yeah,
well, first class, baby. One day. But, it's so exciting, like full circle to be here when I was talking to you and you were coming out with the book. And now I have a book and it's just like, thank you. Thank you for just being in my life and consistent and just that the support that we have for each other. It's just wonderful.
Amazing. Well, it's my absolute pleasure. So I really wanted to give a bit of your background to people. Who are you? What do you do on a daily basis? What's your area of expertise? And also to tell us a little bit about your background and your culture so people can really get a feel for you on the show.
Sure. Yeah. I'm married with 2 kids, 3rd kid on the way. And anyone want to know, we went through IVF. So anyone who's listening who has to go through IVF, you have an ally, someone who can talk to you about it. And my daughter is 6.5. And my son is 4, and I'm married to my wonderful wife, Ariella, for 10 years, going on 11. And I'm a therapist, a licensed therapist, do it every day. I work a lot with couples and individuals within their relationships on the daily, and a podcast host of the Dude Therapist podcast, because I'm a dude who happens to be a therapist, and now an author, which is a crazy thing to say. And my background and culture, I'm Orthodox Jewish. Come from the East Coast of America, New York, born and raised. And now I live in Las Vegas, which sounds really crazy, but it's really beautiful here. And so I'm not complaining right now,
Wow. Amazing. There's a mix of a lot of different things, which is, really cool. So we've got a bit of time to break all that apart and look at it all, which will be awesome. This work, whether it's your brand, story, beliefs, or business, is about unbecoming who you were told to be and remembering who the fuck you actually are. It is about reclaiming your voice, standing in your mana power, and building a life rooted in your whakapapa, the story of how you belong to everything which came before you and that will come after you. We are not simply building brands here. We are breaking inherited patterns and building generations. If that's the kind of work that you are seeking, follow the podcast so you do not miss what comes next. You are with Lilia Taro on Brand Breaker. You wrote this book from I do to we do.
Yeah.
Powerful title. Was the book always with you, or were you seeing particular pains and suffering that people were experiencing that you wanted to help hold them through with this body of work?
So I was asked to write a book because of my podcast. Someone heard me through this, through that, whatever. It's like one of those random opportunities that fall in your lap that I couldn't say no to. But it is the work that I do. Like I work with a lot of couples that struggle with these small pain points that make a huge impact, or big pain points that really suck the life out of their relationships, especially when kids or stress come into the scenario. And it's about not being individualized from I do to a more teamwork, we do mentality of how to communicate those things, that I'm in the same struggle. I'm married with 2 kids and 3rd on the way. I'm in this too. So the book comes from a very personal experience of having panic attacks when my daughter was born, from having arguments. And the book opens up with a massive argument I have with my wife during our kid's first year of life. Like, it's real, it's raw, and it's honest. But every single couple goes through this when they have kids or about to have kids or thinking about having kids. This is across the board something that exists in every culture, in every place around the world. And I think this is actually one of the first books that does this crossover. There's no other book that talks about the relationship of parents and a parenting book that talks about the relationship, or a relationship book talks about what it's like to be a parent. Nothing exists this crossover. So I'm really excited to be, I think, one of the first ones to do this. But it is just something that I carry very close to my heart because I'm in it. I live it. And as I was writing it, I was seeing like all the tools that I do with my clients anyways, like, oh, that works. Like this could help someone. Let's go. Let's put it in. Even my clients got involved. Like, cause I have a whiteboard behind me, which now has my son's drawings on the background because he wanted me to have a cool background. So he just drew a lot of squigglies. And I had Post-it notes on it when I was writing the book. And my clients, when something would hit, they'd be like, put it in the book, put it in the Post-it note. Like they were realizing that it was impactful too. So it is something that I've always wanted to write a book in theory. When I was in my 60s, when I was an old therapist, 70s, an old therapist, I would have rather honestly have like a Dr. Phil show and do this. Writing freaks the living daylights out of me. Yeah. So to do this, to have this book is like a crazy idea because writing is one of my biggest fears.
And it took you a wee while to write the book too. I mean, you were, a year writing this?
Yeah, about 10 months.
What kept you going during that time?
A lot of crying.
I hate this. I hate this writing.
There's a lot of crying, a lot of frustration. But the reason I asked for more time, so they were going to give me 4 to 5 months, and I said I need 8 to 10. Like I have a full-time practice. I got 2 kids. I don't have time to sit there and write for 3 months and just get it done. So I did that for myself, and I made a schedule for myself to do it in a way that I wouldn't get overwhelmed, which I still did. But it was like Sundays, I would write for like 5-6 hours. My wife would take the kids. But a lot of the first couple of months was like the prep of like planning and everything. And then once the book started taking shape and the story started coming, it was more just filling it in to make the pages and really add content and flow. I was doing it and then seeing at the same time the things that I was doing with the clients that I was doing things with. It kind of like energized the whole thing. And there were a lot of lulls and really lows where I didn't write for weeks. And I had to just be kind to that, because it is a hard process to just sit there and write.
Yeah, who should read your book and why?
So it's 80% a relationship book for anyone and everyone. It has tactics and tools that would help any marriage and any relationship that is romantic with basic foundational things and tools and tips that can help you today. 20% of it is the stories, my stories that I write in the book. Some of the examples I give are through the lens of you have kids. Basically how not to kill each other when you have kids. That's what I wanted to call the book. And the publishing company said, no killing. And I went, oh, that's it's a great title. It'll really pop off. There's 2 chapters on communication and conflict. There's a chapter on, there's 1 chapter for moms, 1 chapter for dads. There's an idea of us versus them, which is us versus the chaos of the world or anything out there. That's applicable to any relationship. The idea of small moments mattering, very, 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 very impactful, and how they can, you can repeat them and put them into place. That's good for any relationship.
What is the biggest issue that you see people bringing to you and they're like, we need help with this? And how are you kind of solving and helping support them with that?
I think the biggest issue I see more consistently, if I take the couple stuff out of it, but more the individual, is the self-doubt or self-confidence to show up the way they want to or get their needs met, and how to express that in the best way, or talk about it with safety and comfort, and then hopefully put it into action. That's a lot of the things, even with the individuals. They're like, oh, I don't know, maybe, It's a lot of anxiety or angst and stress about all the stuff and how to deal with it so that they can be their truest self or be their most authentic self to then show up for the world and show up for the things they want to do.
Yeah. And so what's your advice to people who are struggling with this?
Well, I smack them around and tell them to get over it. No, just kidding. No, but a lot of it has to do with where they come from. So a lot of it has to do with what the messaging. So if you look at like the mental health modality called IFS, which is internal family systems, the example I like to give is if you look at Inside Out 2, the movie, that is one of the best representations of what IFS feels like, looks like, smells like, tastes like. All the different characters within you playing their role, who is being called forward. And it's a lot of the stuff we carry from the past that I used to do this because, well, now that doesn't help you anymore. So why are you still doing it? Or I never did that because, well, why haven't you done it now? You're different. And it's a lot of being trapped in those old thought process or patterns because it used to work for me and now it doesn't, or it never was an option. And I don't know what it means like now to be that thing, whatever that is, right? For some people, it's, I was told to be more quiet because I was too much, right? That's what I was told as a kid, right? I had ADHD. I was still do. I was off the walls. So it was, hey, shh, keep it together. Well, now that I'm older, do I still have to keep it together? Do I still have to be quiet? Well, now I'm not sure, because that became a comfort of me. That became something I'm used to, but I don't have to do that anymore. Well, now how do I flip that switch back on when I'm so used to being trapped in that kind of prison, so to speak, of thought process? And it's that battle that a lot of people deal with, of letting go of that stuff and then reassessing what it means to be themselves today, even if it means a little bit of the other stuff. But now you are deciding what it means versus other things and other forces of past or other things and other people kind of dictating who you are today.
Obviously, in my background, I grew up in a very conservative Christianity, and we were told women should be silent.
Yeah.
Women don't speak. Women shouldn't be successful. And so now in my business, in this world today, I'm like, okay, well, I want to be a successful woman. I am an ambitious person. I have natural leadership skills, but I'm always fighting this internal messaging. And do you think all of that comes from our childhood, or is it a bit of a mix of things we've picked up just over the course of our life?
Yeah, I don't like to say that it's just the childhood, because I don't want to blame everything on the parents and the culture that you grew up in, but that does shape how we view the world. It is the context for our today. But I think we do pick up on a lot of messages from the world today of things we are told and things we are, you are this, so sorry, deal with it. And we get there's a lot of noise that kind of convinces us that we can't. I mean, if you look at this, there's a very famous, marketing guru guy, Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary V. What is his biggest thing? He yells at people to go, stop believing this stuff and just go do it. Just post, just get out there, just make those connections, just go. Don't hold yourself back. Why would you do that to yourself? Because a lot of times we just get stuck even in now. We believe we can't. Oh, someone else is doing it, so what am I going to do that's different? It's you. You're unique. Your way of doing it is different. Your way of saying it's different. I mean, I wrote a book on relationships. There are how many books on relationships? They're all behind me. There are a lot of books on relationships, but the way I'm writing it, the stories I am telling, the experiences that I had with my wife that I put in the book, or even just the nuanced tweak of how I look at a certain modality or a way of helping, could be the difference that helps someone versus another book not written badly, but not written in the way I did it.
What got you into being a relationship therapist in the first place? Like, were you always just like, I'm going to be the dude therapist? Or were you like, was there something that happened in your life that really triggered this for you?
Yeah, so I think I have either a sickness or a curse or maybe it's a blessing. I don't know yet. I haven't figured it out, but I love relationships. I love love. And I love also the deep connections that we can have with people, because it is so integral to our daily life. Not just marriage, not just long-term relationships, not partnership, but just friendships and that connection. And to me, it was something, I know I didn't think about this until now. I have another answer that I usually go with, but I'll add that too. Growing up with ADHD, I had to learn the hard way of how to truly connect with people and learn social skills. I didn't have them innately. I had a very hard time socially as a kid. But once I learned how to tap into the way I could do it that fit for me and worked for me, then it was like rocket ship. I got it. I clicked. And I was the guy in recess who would sit there and have all the conversations with people. Maybe because I wasn't the most athletic person, so I wasn't playing and running around as much. But I was the guy who was sitting and I had all the friends who were girls who would chat about their boyfriends. Like, that was me. And so growing up, I knew I wanted to help people. But you go to school, you learn all the things. I don't know about how it works in New Zealand, but you go into, your internship. And I was working with anyone and everyone, but the clients I loved working with the most was the relationships, was their dating, was their marriages, was how they dealt with their kids and all that kind of stuff. And once I had my private practice, I'm like, screw this. I want to do whatever I want to do. It's my thing. And then I just went, okay, this is my bread and butter. I still work with anyone and everyone. It's not like I only work with that, but it's what lights me up the most. It gets me into the best flow state or the excitement is that world.
We kind of think there's this typical way of being, but there's not. There's so many ways of being as a human. And I was wondering, could you share with us some of your challenges of being ADHD, how you dealt with that and how that grew you into the person you are today.
Yeah, so I'll only speak from my experience and for me, because every single person has a different, but for me, it was the impulse control and not listening when someone was talking because I wanted to speak. So if I had an idea, it would pop in my head, I would go, ooh, ooh, and I would just say it. And I wouldn't wait my turn. I would interrupt people a lot. I still do, but it was more of this explosion of energy that I could not contain or learn how to guide it better or learn how to utilize it smarter. But I still have that energy. I am extremely ridiculous and silly with my kids. It explodes when it comes to being with my kids and my wife, and she goes, oh, stop, you're being nuts again, right? And that's good. That's a good use of that energy. But having a heart-to-heart conversation with someone or just a normal conversation, and I can't stop myself from interrupting someone or at a meal or things like that or get-togethers, that was hard for me. Also, something with ADHD is that I could not tell certain tones if someone was being sarcastic or joking, or if they were truly my friend and using my kindness, because I just wanted to have friends so badly. So I got bullied, not in beating up. Well, that happened too, but not as much as being used to do homework because I was smart, or to like help them out with things because I was like, oh, you want to be friends with me? Sure, I'll do whatever you want, kind of thing. And I just didn't have insight to that stuff. And then the last thing I would say is that for me, it was the sensitivity part. I'm very sensitive. So, and people can be very sensitive, and there's an interplay of ADHD and something called highly sensitive people. So I'm very sensitive with criticism, like school and stuff like that, or even just small changes and nuances of tone of, ooh, something's wrong here. I heard that. I heard your voice drop, or not you, or I heard something go up or down, or your facial expressions. And I got too hyper-focused on that and wouldn't be able to be present or get very sensitive and thrown off by it.
I can see how that when you're bringing that into like a romantic relationship or a core relationship, that can then create challenges. So how did you navigate that when you first started having romantic relationships or experiencing dating?
Well, first of all, I take medication. I take like an Adderall. It's called Vyvanse. It's an ADHD medication, so that helps a lot. And also, been going to therapy for years to help with that. And thirdly, it was the right person. Someone who didn't judge me for my quirks and was understanding. Like, I have a sweatshirt that is like my blanket, my blankie, that has like a little edge to it that helps calm me down. My wife jokes around. She goes, you got your blankie? And we laugh around it. Or she has her sensory things, right? Everyone's got their thing, right? Or if I'm off, my wife knows or understands, hey, this is going to be a little overstimulating for Ellie. Let me ask if it's okay if we do this. Like, it's just her care and concern, or me learning to speak up for myself, to say, hey, I don't want to go in there. I don't want to go to that thing. Not because I'm trying to be a Debbie Downer and not enjoy life. That's going to make my brain overstimulated and I'm not going to be okay. My brain's going to hurt.
Yeah.
So it's also about learning and failing and messing up. And then having awareness to speak up for yourself and have your partner as a teammate and express it to them so they are aware also. It's not just in you, but also they can now. But when it came to dating, it was my silly side that came up. The right person brought out the positive of my ADHD. And then, but the funny thing is that my wife loves the story, but she said no to me like 3 times when I wanted to date her. And the reason why is because when we first started dating, when we first met each other, she was in the middle of talking and I walked away in the middle of the conversation because I thought she was done talking and I got distracted by something else and went, oh, it was like at a convention or something. It was like a youth organization convention. And I went, oh, hey, how are you? And I went to the next person to say hi. And she was like, I was in the middle of talking. What does this guy think he's all cool and better than me? And so when I asked to date her, she's like, I don't want to date this guy. He walked away in the middle of the conversation. But then then she got to know me a little bit and she realized that I wasn't doing anything purposefully. My brain was like, oh, look, a piece of candy. And I just followed it like, oh, look, a squirrel. So that was, just a lot of patience. She's a very patient woman. I'm very lucky. She's a very patient woman.
Yeah. When it comes to relationships, how much do you reckon that it is, from your experience, how much do you believe that it is the right person versus we need to put more work into this relationship? Like, when do you know this is the one we should walk away from versus I should stay and figure this out?
So there's multiple layers there, right? Because there's multiple things going on with that question. But First of all, the right person, you feel comfort, you feel respected, you feel loved, you feel seen, you feel important, you feel valued. So those things, if they are there, put in the work. If it's not, doesn't click all the time, but you feel all the good things that are true signs of valuable relationship, put in the work. If those things don't exist, but the sex is great, or it's a really, great experience, or we have a fun time. If the value, if the respect, the kindness, the compassion, that those things aren't there, why are you putting work into something that doesn't give you that good feeling, that good value, hoping it might change? The sass I always give is you should never try to date or be in a relationship with the potential of someone. Right here, right now, should be quality. Is it perfect? No. Can it be something? Maybe. But right near right now, it is really good. And we're going to build on that, of course. But I don't have to convince myself. I don't have to trick myself into loving you. I don't have to trick myself into, it being good. I don't have to trick myself into trying so hard and not getting anything in return. It's just there. And everything else is great. It's the extra sauce, is the hard work. That's the benefit. But you should never convince someone to show up. If you have to convince people to show up for you, you're wasting your time.
Yeah. See, I wasn't allowed to date growing up. And then when I started dating, I had no parameters given to me around this is how to date. This is how to keep yourself safe while you're dating. You can walk away if we were just taught marriage is for life.
Yeah.
The first person you have sex with, it's for life. You're married to that person now, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so when I came into the normal dating world outside of conservative Christianity, I really struggled because I was like, people weren't bringing the same level of commitment as I was. I didn't understand this idea of casual relationships as well. And I sort of really struggled with that. And I was just sort of wondering when it comes to our children and the advice we're giving them about relationships when they're entering into the dating scene, how should we be approaching that as parents?
Yeah. So my daughter's never leaving my house and my son is never leaving my house, and they will live with me forever. I already told them, if I can, I'm buying a house for them, and they're stuck with me because I love them so much. Yeah. My daughter goes, Daddy, I'm just going to get married and live with you. I said, hell no. But in all seriousness, when it comes down to it, I try to teach them by example, what it means to be loved and what it means to love. So I love my wife. I kiss and hug and play and joke with my wife. I show them by example what it is to get respect in a relationship, what it means to have safety in a relationship. Now, I'm not having these conversations with my daughter who's 7. Well, she's 6.5. If I say 7, she'll yell at me. She's 6.5. I'm not having these conversations, but as she gets older, we will have conversations of what values she has and what values matter to her and another person, and looking out for that, and how you test that, or how you challenge that, or how you really ask the questions to get answers, and what it means to be with someone who sees you and cares about you. And that's all you can do. After that, you don't know how the relationship will mold. You don't know how it will progress or decline. That's out of your hands. And that is scary. But it is this idea, like, I don't know about in New Zealand and like the worries of, stranger danger and all those kind of things. But with my kids, we are very adamant about teaching them about their private parts and other people not seeing or touching them. My daughter recently, now there's a Yiddish word called mutchering, which means to bother with love. A little squeeze in the cheek, a little nibbling, a little squeeze of a tushy here and there, right? So I do that to my daughter sometimes. She goes, Daddy, please don't touch my tushy. It's a private part. And I have to respect that. And there are times she doesn't care. And she goes, Daddy, you're going to get it. And, and I chase her and it's like all this cuteness. But she gets to dictate that. We are teaching them those safety things, but we're also teaching them what it looks like to feel loved, to be loved, and to speak up when you're not getting love. And that's just by...
And to have autonomy.
Yeah. And that's what it's like to just have that respect for a child, is the child learning that they can speak up, but also it comes from a lot of role modeling that I'm doing with my wife and my wife doing for me. That this is the example that we're setting for you.
Yeah, I grew up in a world where children were often sexually abused. And there was none of like the teaching of, this is your body, this belongs to you. This should be touched. This shouldn't be touched. You can say no. You need to communicate with your parents about certain things. And so it created this environment, well, where I was raised, there was this environment where children were not safe. And so I love how you're teaching your kids safety, really, and how to navigate the world, because it's not just a safe, perfect world everywhere.
It's not.
There are situations, and they will be sometimes in situations, you protect them as much as you can as a parent, but you're not perfect. You can't be there 24/7.
Yeah. And there are parents, by the way, who do that. And there are parents who try to be there 24/7, and that's not healthy either. Because I heard this years ago from someone, I forgot who, that like our job as parents and our job with anyone we are caring for is to teach them to leave the nest and fly, but also learn they can come back. But if all I'm doing is holding them while they're learning to fly, I'm not letting them go. So they said even with like kids, with babies learning how to walk, you shouldn't stand there and hold them while they're learning. You have your hands nearby and you get rid of all the things that could impale them and hurt them. But in the end, they're going to fall. And they look back and see that you're there to help them, but you're not holding on, because then they can't figure it out themselves. And that's a very hard struggle as parents, to like actually let go and be like, okay, now you go do it. I've never, like, it's a very scary thing. That's the only way they'll learn.
We parent and we love these children in a certain way. But then sometimes when we've lived through traumatic life experience or hard life experiences, we don't often afford ourselves the same love that we give our children. And we need to learn to be that loving adult for ourselves. How do we love ourselves really? Like, how do we reparent that hurt and broken inner child?
Yeah. Oh, so powerful. It's a great question. I think a lot of times if you do have kids and you're in that state of like reparenting yourself, it's very interesting the mirror the children kind of shine on the faults or struggles that you're fighting with, where you get escalated. Like for me, my impulse controls, I get overstimulated sometimes with my kids and the noises, and I get impulsive and I sometimes snap or yell. I'm not the best at that. And then I go, ooh, okay, I need to pay attention to that. Like, why am I yelling at my child for being a child? Like, they're not doing anything wrong. They're not misbehaving. They're not in danger. They're not a safety issue. They're just dancing and making a noise and being silly, and it's just putting me over the edge. That's how I have to look at myself at that. That's an awareness. I have to be like, oh, I got to look in the mirror on that one. But when you do, you're past, and this is something that I keep repeating on the media tour, because it's like a quote I found while writing the book that I just love and I put in the book. It's by C.S. Lewis, who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia. And he wrote a line that says, I can't go back in the past and rewrite the story, but I can choose today how it ends. So we have the power in ourselves to look in the mirror. We can't go back and change who hurt us, how it hurt, and what hurt us. But we can choose how we then write our story from today going forward. What is the present version of Ellie that needs to be written? What are the things that I need to do to make my story matter to me, and that it's my story, not theirs? They don't get to do that. My past, whether it's a person or an experience, they don't get to dictate that anymore. And that's a very hard, that's what forgiveness is. It's not, I might not ever get an apology from the person that I deserve, ever, or the thing. But I have to forgive that they don't get to control that anymore. I now have the power to control how I want to live going forward. And that is an empowering experience. And then how we do that is with kindness and compassion, to say, my past has sucked. Things have happened. I am not that person anymore. I am new every day. I am new every day. And I get to choose how I want to renew that person and how I want to show up. And that's just a beautiful experience that we can give to ourselves.
I really love that you've decided to be so open with your story throughout the book, and you give personal insight into things from your life. Was that hard? Were you worried you would hurt other people talking about them? Tell me about that.
Yeah, the only person I really talked about was my wife and my kids. And I'm not like throwing anyone else under the bus, and not even my wife. I made sure that the stories that I put in there, silly or not, were okay with her. I'm not just going to like throw her under the bus. But to me, that's the only way I know how to do what I do. Like to me, to build a connection when I speak, or when I'm doing a podcast, or I'm meeting with even clients, the personal side has to be there, because I'm a human and you're a human. So yeah, I struggle too. I yelled at my kids 3 days ago. Okay, let's get over it. Let's keep talking about real things. But it is something that is just the way I know how to get points across, is with being vulnerable and real. That's the only way I like being talked to and the only way I wanted to do it. I wasn't going to be, the book is not supposed to be this high intellect, I'm going to talk and use big words and no one understands it. It's going to be for anyone and everyone to pick up the book for it's an easy read. It's a very connected, grabs you in with stories and has some takeaways that really can be useful because that's just how I am.
If you could give one piece of advice to someone who's struggling with their relationship right now, and you were like, if you change this one thing, everything else will change. Can you share that advice with us?
Yeah, I'll try. So the one thing I'll say, and I might say two because I'm ADHD and I like breaking the rules. So the one thing I'll say is speak up more. Stop hiding. Stop hiding your truth. Stop hiding who you are and speak up more. Talk about your needs. Talk about what you're looking for. Talk about your frustrations. Don't keep it to yourself because then they will never know what your vantage point of the world is. They will not be aware or cognizant of what you're struggling with and why you're struggling, whether it's mental load of parenting, whether it's annoyances that you have in the relationship. Talk about it. How you talk about it, that's a skill. You have to learn that skill. You're not supposed to know how to do these things. You don't wake up one day and go, ooh, I know how to do everything right. There are better ways and not good ways. Learn the better ways, but don't stop talking. The more you stop talking and hiding and avoiding the issues, the farther and farther you get from each other. It's a lot harder to bring it closer. And the second thing is, don't stop trying. Don't just say, I can't, it's not worth it. It's too much work. It's so hard. On TikTok today, which I'm so resentful that I have to be on TikTok now to promote this book, but we're here, we're doing it. It's another avenue. Why not? I said, people say to me, oh, Ellie, it's one more thing I have to work on. Yeah, too damn bad. This is your relationship. One of the most important, beautiful things you can do in your life is have a relationship that matters and is valuable and fulfilling. Yeah, you got to do the work. And that's not fair. I get it, but it is true. So if you want it, go for it. If you want it, do it. If you want it, find a way to figure it out, whether it's a podcast, a book, a course, a therapist, whatever it is. Don't stop trying if it really matters to you and you want it to happen. Keep going for it.
Yeah. What I'm caught with is that this doesn't just apply to relationships.
It's everything.
We're talking about relationships, but literally any area of my life I'm looking at, it's like, well, are you committed to it? Are you going to show up every single day? Are you going to put in the work? Are you going to do things that you don't like doing? Get outside your comfort zone. Are you going to learn to speak and to grow yourself? And it's not just relationships, is it? It's really a way of living and how you live your life and how you go about your life and conduct yourself inside of relationships in your niche.
Yeah.
But every part of life as well. So has your work with relationships really affected how you approach your business?
Yeah. So one of the mottos that I live my life by that I was taught by my parents and a few other people, but really my parents, was that if you never ask and you never try, the answer is always no. So you were coming out of the book. Why would you say yes to me? You live in New Zealand. Why would I even ask? Why not? So what if you say no? But you could say yes. If you never ask and you never try, you are automatically stopping yourself from a potential opportunity. You're right. All the fears, all the worries, there's something in mental health called anticipatory regret, which is it might not happen and I'm worried about it and I'm anticipating going wrong. So I'm just going to not get there and not let myself get hurt. So I'm going to preempt any pain, struggle, or frustration by halting any opportunity or stopping or not risking it. The reward is better than the risk. The reward of a yes is better than the risk of getting a no. So you have to put yourself out there. Try. I've had unbelievable, amazing people like you and other people on my show. Why? I freaking emailed them. I just had Mayim Bialik on my show. She's from Big Bang Theory, right? She has 5 million followers. You know how I did it? I bothered her every 6 months for 4 years. And finally they said yes. Why? Because I wanted it. So I kept trying. Who cares if they say no? Who cares if I don't get an answer? If you don't try, of course the answer is no. How are you going to be successful if you don't try? So just put it out there. Do your best. If you make mistakes, learn from them. If you fail, learn from them. And if you don't do it right, find out people who can teach you the better way of doing it. But don't just never do it. Don't just never try, because then the answer is always a no.
How are you moving past that? Like if you that fear?
Oh, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to send an email. What hurts me, what really honestly, what messes with me is not getting the answer and just waiting for other people to do their part. Like I made my effort, right? I put it out there. Okay, I guess I'll just, let's go. Like that's my struggle, is the patience. I struggle with patience.
Yeah.
That's like a huge thing that I struggle with, is the patience. Like I said to you before about the book, like I spent how many years writing it, and then you put it out and you're like, okay, everyone, it's here. Like I have that energy. So that's my struggle, is being cognizant that other people have their lives and it doesn't have to answer just because I emailed. But the fear of emailing is the most impersonal, personal way to reach out. I'm not knocking on their door and going, hi, can you come on my podcast? Like that's a little more personal. That takes a lot of guts and confidence. This is an email. Find it online. If you go on Instagram, most Instagram pages have a contact button with an email address or their website. What's the harm in sending the email?
I wanted to ask you, because I had a somatic hypnotherapist on here the other day, and then she was talking about pause, what a pleasure, which is a practice of gratitude from Kabbalah.
Yeah.
I know you have a background Orthodox Jewish, and I wanted to know, do you take teachings and learnings from your background and your culture and incorporate them into your work? And can you share some of those with us? Love to learn something.
I love that question. So it's interesting because Kabbalah is part of Judaism. It's not a separate thing. It's mysticism within Judaism. And for me, it's a part of me. So like how I talk and how I approach the world. Yes, I am a therapist who happens to be Jewish. I'm not a Jewish therapist, right? I'm not someone who pushes Judaism within the therapy world. I'm a therapist who has a Jewish background. For me, the idea of belief in things working out because of a higher power is something that really drives a lot of what I do, just internally, because the world is crazy and nuts and it doesn't make sense a lot of the times. And there's so many doubts and concerns, and we can only do our part. We only have a certain amount of control over the world. So that letting go of that control, that it's not up to me all the time. I only have control over, in Judaism, it's called the 4 walls. I only have control over my house, of what happens in my little corner of the world. I can't control everything else. So letting go that there's a higher power that is, whether it's true or not, I don't freaking know, but it gives me comfort that I don't need to get angsty about the weather. It's not up to me. I shouldn't get upset about traffic. Not up to me. I'm in my car, controlling my car, that I am safe. So what, someone cuts me off? So I try to work with my clients in the idea of what are in your little 4 walls that you can control. If you can, worry yourself about it, concern yourself about it, do your best about it. But everything outside of those walls, why do you got to worry about it so much? Why are you getting overwhelmed by it? That's not your world. That's not up to you. Let it go.
Yeah, it's uncanny. I literally on Monday posted a podcast, and it's about it's from Indigenous Māori teachings, which is the 4 walls of the house.
Really?
Or your whananui, or your meeting house. Yeah. And for us, it's the 4 walls being your mental health and well-being, then your physical health and well-being, and your spiritual purpose, and all these things, that they are the 4 walls of your house, and you look after each of them. Yeah. And then it's a holistic approach to health and well-being, and it's been used in the therapy world. So it's a therapy modality that was adapted by Sir Mason Dury, and it's really big here in New Zealand. It's used a lot with therapy, and I learned it in therapy too, which was amazing. So when you said that, I was like, 4 walls. Yeah. So,
but there is an interplay, and there is a beauty of this idea of spirituality and connection, and what it means to be grateful for your world, and the gratitude of life that is a blessing is also something to just be very centered. Like, I am very blessed that I am here today. I am awake. I'm alive. I have this, I have that, I have this, I have that. To kind of ground yourself that, yes, life is hard, but you still have a lot of good things going on too. And to be able to have that balance of mindset is just something that you can just do every day. Just like, okay, yeah, I have this stressor. And we do that in, like journaling, like gratitude journals, right? What's the point? You want to hear something interesting about science? Your brain can physically not be grateful and upset at the same time. It just can't. The neurotransmitters, they stop it. There's two different avenues. It literally puts a blockage. So if you're trying to be more grateful and cognizant of the beauty that you have in the world and the things that are good, your brain cannot be upset physically. So like you have control over that to be able to stop that process from happening.
This is happening to me recently. Like my head gets in a dark place sometimes. You know, I've got a rough background, so so there's a lot there.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it's heavy, right?
Yeah.
But also, like I have so many beautiful things in my life to be grateful for. But sometimes I get stuck in this place, and it's always about coming back to like, wait, what do I have though?
Yeah,
I have a beautiful home. I have a beautiful partner. I have all these wonderful things. So here I am focusing on this is going wrong, that's going wrong, this terrible thing happened to me. And if I'm just reaffirming all of those beliefs about how terrible my life is, it just makes me feel miserable.
Yeah,
and I'm suffering because of it. So at any point, and Tony Robbins says, you know, at any point you can choose what your brain focuses on. And I'm always choosing, okay, well, I'm going to try to focus on gratitude. Don't get it right all the time, but I'm going, okay, what is my brain focusing on now that's making me feel so terrible?
Yeah.
And then how can I focus in another direction? What was like the hardest part of your journey with writing the book?
The editing phase. Because I was like, oh, they're going to send back this thing with like all the problems and like I'm going to have to redo the whole thing and it's going to be like a piece of garbage and they're going to be like, this is the worst thing ever. So that was like the preparation for that was very worrisome. And even just the idea of having to go back and redo things that I spent months working on to be told, it just needs a tweak here or you forgot to do that and I don't see it that way would be like, oh gosh, not this. But other than that, it's been, the writing itself, of course, is hard, but that was the worry I had. That was the struggle I had.
Yeah. I had I got advice once from an award-winning New Zealand author, and she said to me, you have to be willing to kill your darlings. There's that word again. But it basically means you have to brutally be willing to able to cut out anything that does not serve your story.
Yeah.
And when you put so much love into this thing and you've spent hours writing this thing and you think it's great and then you look at it as a whole in the book and you're like, it doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to go, okay,
goodbye.
No, delete. That's just done. And that's that process of being able to let go of the outcome as well.
Yeah.
And just be willing for the book to come together in itself. Like I always think with creative work, there's what we do and we are making this thing. But to a degree, it comes together of its own accord as well. Like it creates itself too.
Yeah.
Like we are the creator. But I've always sort of seen my creative work as a little bit separate to me, which is a bit of a tangent. But if you were like, I have people who want to write and publish their stories, what advice would you give those people who are listening to the podcast right now?
Just start. Like you don't have to publish anything. Just open a Word document or whatever notes app. You don't have to make it fancy or sexy or awesome. It's just about putting pen to paper. Just start writing. See where it takes you. If you don't have a deadline, lucky you. No one's putting this pressure on you that it has to be this certain way. So just start. Again, there's that yes mentality. Start saying yes to it instead of saying no. What's the point? It's going to suck. It's terrible. I'm speaking to myself because I did that for years. But with this, just start writing stories. Don't write ideas. Write stories that then you can extrapolate an idea or a lesson. Think about what the book you want it to be, the title or the vibe of the book, and just start writing stories. And then you look at the story and go, oh, this is the lesson I want to take from that. Oh, and then your brain will do the rest. I promise. Your brain will connect the dots. But if you just don't do anything, you're never going to write. So just start writing little by little. Make a schedule for yourself, 10 minutes a week. Just 10 minutes a week, that's not a lot. Or one day a month, you sit for 3 hours and you just write what comes to your mind that has to do with the topic of the book that you want to write. And if it's about you and your story, you're the only one who has that beautiful access to those memories, to those things. Put it down. Just start writing it. Don't make it perfect. Just make it as ugly and wonderful as it is, and it's unique. So start doing it.
How did you get over your fear of writing this thing you hate doing?
Still not over it. Even writing a caption for a TikTok or Instagram, I go, oh my gosh, this is going to be the worst. It's funny enough. I used to have my wife. I used to give my wife access. She's a great writer to my Instagram to like edit my captions because I was like, oh my gosh, I spelled there wrong again for the 17th time. Which there is it? I don't know. No, it's still a fear, but the idea that I can is a lot louder now. So the I can't still exists. Like I didn't delete that. I can't. It's just, it's part of who I am. So the fear of the I can't write or it's not going to be good is still existing, but the I can is now just a little bit louder, that wins a lot more than not. And I even said to my wife, and she thinks I'm crazy for saying this, after the book published, I said, you know what? I would write a second book. And she goes, really? I go, yeah, if I got paid enough, I would definitely do it again. I already have a title of a book that I would write. And like the I can was just, it's a little bit louder now. So that's a nice feeling for myself. That I'm still fearful and still worried. And I would rather speak in public and meet people in person and talk to people versus writing. But the I can't didn't go away. The I can is a little bit louder.
Yeah, I love that you actually did it. Like you did it and you're the person who didn't want to do it.
Oh, no way.
So I think that's like super cool because, you know, there's so many people, I can't write a book because I'm going to hurt someone. Oh, I can't write a book because I'm not a writer, or I can't write a book because of this. And it's the whole, I can't do this. And then we put whatever reason or whatever belief or whatever story we've made up in our heads about why we cannot do this thing just to like prop up our belief that we can't. And so what I'm always doing is going, okay, well, let's look for evidence that I can.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. Can I give another tactic?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is called treasure hunting. It's in the positive psychology world. What treasure hunting is that imagine you have something covering your eyes. And all you see is that negative thing. Treasure hunting is just moving it aside a little bit. So you give your brain just a chance to see the positive. You're not saying, I'm going to get rid of you. It's still there. It exists. But instead of only seeing the I can't, this is the worst, everyone sucks. You're like, oh, there are other things possible to see. Look at that. I didn't know that existed because I wasn't letting myself see it. I was blocking my vision. It is a hard battle to fight those inner demons that yell at us and bring us down. I still don't know if I'm a great writer. I don't know that. And the sassy thing I'll say is that if someone reads my book and has a problem with it, guess what? They bought the book and read it. So like, sucks for them. They bought it and read it. You got a problem with it. You still did it. So like, I still have a book. They read it. Same thing with content. Someone watches your content and they don't like it. They still watched it. They still went to listen to the podcast. So you're doing something to get them there. So they don't like it. Okay, you can't make everyone happy. But they still listened and they still bought the book.
With your treasure hunting, if I'm trying to do treasure hunting, is it the fact that, say, like, I've got this phone here.
Yeah.
And it's like covering my eyes. I'm holding up in front of my eyes so I can't see anything. Is it just that this phone is basically the negative
disbelief, whatever the negative disbelief or the negative thought process?
And am I just shifting it a little bit so I can just see something
else
positive?
It gives the opportunity for your brain to see something else other than just the negative, right? So if something bad happens, right? There's silver lining, right? Which is something negative, and I'm going to force a positive out of the situation. That's not healthy. Something bad happens, it sucks. Or you see the world negatively. You're pessimistic. You're angry. You're annoyed. You're angsty. You're upset. You're sad. Well, guess what? There are also other things happening that you're not giving your brain the chance to see because you're only covering it with this fog or this lens of darkness. So it's just moving it over so that there's other information coming in. You're letting your brain have freedom to choose one or the other versus no choice at all.
Yeah, it's quite a kind way of approaching that as well. Like you're not saying I'm getting rid of everything. I'm going to pretend that this is completely gone. It's not there and this part of me isn't real because it is so real for us. You know, like we really feel these things viscerally. So it's a nice way of just saying, well, instead of just going, I'm going to delete you completely, you're gone and pretend you don't exist. We're just saying, we'll move you a little bit, shuffle you over.
Yeah, just shuffle around.
Give me a little bit more room for something else.
Yeah, just open the drapes a little bit. Open the, just give a little sunlight into the room can make the biggest difference, light up the room. You just like open the shades a little bit. Now, where's the sunlight coming from? Where is that? Before it was so dark in this room. You're just like letting a little light in.
let a little light in. Love that. Where can everyone who's been listening find you, connect with you, reach out to you if they'd like to, and buy your book?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You're just such a ray of sunshine. You really are just so amazing. And I love having you as a support in my life, and always just been someone who just is a great cheerleader, and I appreciate you. Hopefully I can continue to do that for you too. You can reach out at ellieweinsteinlcsw.com. That's where my book is. That's where my podcast is. You can, if you want to fly me out to wherever you are and have me speak, that's where you can also reach out to me. My email's there too. Please, like I said before, just send the email. If you have a question, just ask. Don't be afraid. I don't bite. I might nibble with a little sass and a little no BS style, but I don't bite hard. So please just ask. And you can see me on Instagram, ellyweinstein_LCSW. Now back on TikTok, ellyweinsteinLCSW. On YouTube, The Dude Therapist. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, The Dude Therapist. Please go check it out. And if you like something, let me know. And if you don't, I'd love to hear why. Jump into the show notes. There'll be links there to all of Ellie's social media and his website as well for you to connect with him if you'd like. But thank you so much for listening along to us. Big thank you to Ellie for coming and sharing his teaching so much on the show. This was like awesome. I learned so much from this podcast. I might just try and let the light in. Because it's storming over here in New Zealand at the moment. So I definitely feel a bit more upbeat or positive just after having had this conversation. Let's go. That's my vibe. That's how we do it.